how I'm feeling on my face like 90% of the time.
You do. Yeah. You do have really good give up. But I feel like I do too, though. I think it's rare for somebody to not be able to tell what I'm thinking about you. Because I'll just do like a deadpan stare. Tony, he told me that when he first met me, he was so afraid of me.
Really?
Yeah. I was so shocked. But he's like, you asked me a question and then you just stared at me. And I was like, well, I was just waiting for the response. I'm an active listener. I was like, that was all. Like, I was
so.
And he's like, you just stared me down. He goes, I was terrified. Bear in mind, everybody, I'm like under 5 feet. So that's the kind of fear I instill in people.
I also didn't realize how much I sigh until you were like, you're like very sensitive to it.
Yes.
Because sometimes it does mean that I'm pissed, but it doesn't always. And I didn't realize how much I do it when I'm like not actually pissed or stressed.
Yeah.
I'm just breathing.
I'm like, oh, because my dad, he just sighs so much.
Oh yeah. It's one of those triggers from like childhood where there's just like certain noises. Like when you can tell who's coming home before you've even heard like a voice. It's just like the keys in the door. You're like, oh, that's mom. Or like, hear the garage
listeners
door.
Will say, these bitches should go to therapy. Well, these bitches would tell you, therapy's expensive.
We're trying.
And talking to each other is free.
Yeah.
And it is for you too. Speaking of.
Yes. We are back again.
We have some explaining to do.
Yeah.
Don't we? Do you guys even remember who we are?
Let us reintroduce ourselves. I'm Bri.
I'm Abby.
And we are your rent-free roommates when we show up.
We do have to talk about that. But before we do that, let's do our shameless plugging.
If this is your first time, even if it just feels like your first time.
It's been that long. We get it. Truthfully, we get it.
And you have anything you want to talk to us about or anything to celebrate? There's got to be a lot of stuff. We've been gone for a real long time, guys.
Please,
so
we probably need to be caught up.
Yeah, please let us know what you've been up to. Email us at rentfreeroommates@gmail.com.
If you want to make a PowerPoint too.
Yeah, I would love that.
I would actually really like that. I would really enjoy it. I would really read them all.
Do you want an assignment? There you go.
Yeah, you guys.
Catch us up via PowerPoint.
Yeah, we'll share our favorite ones.
Yeah. Oh my
God. Not to pit you guys against each other, but I need a little drama in my life. But anyway, we're so happy to be back. We've really missed you guys.
Truly.
And even more importantly, we're upset that we missed out on some of
all the months
for us to go radio silent. Literally, It had to be the month of October. But before we get into that, we just want to welcome everybody back.
Yes.
And let you know we're happy to be back, and we do have
We're happy you're still here if you are.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us, and thanks to those who checked in too.
Yeah,
we did have a couple followers reach out, which we really, really appreciated. It really made our day.
Yeah.
But anybody, it meant a lot, and we were really surprised because we're just wee little gals still.
Yeah.
So for people to be like, where are you guys at? We were like, I'm a star.
We're glad you missed us because we missed you guys
We'll give
too.
the audience what they want.
So we're back.
Yeah.
On the same bullshit.
But we do have some updates.
We do. So we're going to be apologizing this whole thing. Like I'm going to say I'm sorry for the amount of times we're going to say I'm sorry.
Yeah, take a shot every time we say sorry.
But don't have anywhere to drive after that because you will.
Yeah, you're going to be out calling to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're going to be fucked up.
But I'm so sorry because I feel so guilty that I let this whole month happen, that it's just. It just got away from us. But within that time and within that like struggle and just looking back at everything, we had a discussion and I realized that I think it's just going to be better for us so that we don't go on a unintentional hiatus again.
Yeah.
To change up the schedule a little bit. We will still be releasing on Wednesdays, but it is going to be every other week. So there will unfortunately only be 2 episodes each month instead of 4. But I think that will help us stay on track and not feel so overwhelmed, and will keep us from completely disappearing.
And it'll make you miss us more.
Yeah.
And appreciate us. No, I'm sure you already do.
Enough.
Yeah. No. But also we'll be sure to give all of our like time and effort into those episodes that we do. Everything, we'll make sure they get the attention that they need and deserve. This wasn't ideal, but we just realized with our schedules it's a little bit hard to keep up, and once you feel overwhelmed, it can be really difficult to finish a task, let alone start a task that is one that's already stressing you out. So I'm sure if anybody can ever relate to just not even knowing where to start or get back on track, that's definitely what happened to us.
Yeah.
But we're extremely happy to be back. And we kind of figured that this would be a great episode to just kind of do some light talking about what happened, just because, previous episodes have shown that Bri and I are really big mental health advocates.
Yeah.
And we really kind of want to shed some light on what happened with her and I, because I think we were both similarly having equal feelings towards the podcast, but going through different things that were preventing us from getting it done. So I just think it would be really great for just an honest conversation, and then we can just kind of get back into our usual schedule from there.
Yeah. And we thought it might be a good example, and just even another side of us, if we just kind of have a live Bri and Abby conversation, like how we would talk through things, or how we do talk through things when especially stuff like this happens, but just even on a daily basis, or just, when we're catching up with each other. But before we do, again, thank you guys so much for coming back. We are so happy to get into it. We hope you like this episode and kind of get an even better idea of who we are. And to anybody that's listening for the first time, this is not every episode.
Yeah, it's really not.
This is us. It's kind of the same feel, but instead of giving advice to somebody we don't know, or to a stranger, or to a listener, we're just doing it to each other, and that's how this all started. So
exactly.
It's kind of getting back to the beginning.
A little behind the scenes, really.
Yeah. So I kind of want to start off saying, we actually did record 2 episodes within this month that we've been gone. They just never released. So maybe someday those will come along. But for me personally, it's been a lot of work stuff. I actually just on the ride home today was realizing that just how much work has changed for me within 1 year. It's not even over yet. I was thinking about that
for you literally just a week ago too. I'm like, Bri's been doing some shit.
I've been through it. I've been trying to make it through. I literally started the year unemployed. I had 3 jobs that I just wasn't getting any hours from. And
I'm not laughing at your despair. I'm just like, damn, bitch, you really did.
I know.
Then you really did start unemployed.
I started unemployed. I had 1 week back where I was covering for the job, my contract, and then was unemployed again. And literally, I had 3 jobs, but just wasn't getting any hours from any of them. And that's just on COVID. That's just on the world that we're living in. I've also been thinking a lot about just how much things have, thinking back to this time last year, and I'm like, wow, the pandemic is not over, but it's so
drastically changed.
Yeah.
Opinions, even just
yeah,
it's weird. It's weird.
But as much as the world has changed, so has my own personal world. And by the time we started the podcast, I had a job again and was working from home, and it was a little bit easier to kind of keep up with stuff and to do weekly episodes. But even then, it was a very demanding job, and I was definitely
extremely demanding.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been. The job is supposed
shouldn't
to
have, but the standards at which you were being set to,
yeah,
were so unrealistic. Just also for what you were getting paid. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's the other struggle of this year, is just that with how much I feel like I've been hustling, it's for what? Just to get by.
Yeah.
And I was definitely doing a lot of podcast work while I should have been working.
She's like, so I'm not 100% innocent here. No, I'm just kidding.
But I think that speaks a lot to me and my motivation for work, because I do see myself as a hard worker, and I will hustle and I will do a lot of work, and I will gladly and loyally put in a lot of work to something that I feel like if I'm getting something out of it. I am not motivated by money. That's probably why I hustle for nothing. But
oh my God.
But I can start seeing that I'm not doing well in a job, or that a job is just not a good fit for me, when I mentally start, which is not, it's not an epiphany. It's not like a super original thing for me. But when I do start to finally see, or luckily hear from people around me, like, how are you doing? Like, if people are checking in on me and they're like, it sounds like you're trying to make this job sound greater than it is. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I'm doing a lot of work that I don't enjoy, and it's affecting me in other ways. So then I start naturally I start focusing on the things that I enjoy, which was the podcast. Mm-hmm. But then even with things you enjoy, I think when you feel like you're getting behind, at least this is how I work and how my brain works. Once I get behind, there's a fine line when I suddenly now, it's like I'm behind, but I feel like I have a chance of getting in front of it. And then like that, I feel like I'm drowning, and I'm like, because then I'm trying to plan in my head to get ahead of what I'm behind in. And just even before I've done anything, I already feel overwhelmed. And then I just shut down. I go into shutdown, and it is so hard to do even the smallest of tasks once I shut down.
Isn't that crazy too?
And yeah.
Things that are so simple. The amount of times that I've just like put off even folding my laundry, which in reality takes me 20 minutes.
I know.
But sometimes the task just seems like, in my mind, like climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
Which is weird. And I'm like, I know it's not that hard. It's not that hard. And I'll start to be able to pick up the pieces once I get that done. But it's just the idea of getting there that seems so far away.
Yeah.
Which is definitely how I feel like the podcast ended up feeling for us. Mm-hmm. Especially once we missed 1 week. It was like, okay, we'll try and... It's just 1 week. We'll get back on it. And then 2 weeks happened. And we were like, oh, fuck. Well, like...
Now we're so far behind.
And then it was like, well, let's try and record and make sure we're doing this while also still maintaining our like very like busy social lives, work lives. Mm-hmm. And
I had no social life between work and the podcast. It was literally as soon as I was done with work, I went from my chair at the desk to the couch and I was editing. It was constant.
And just no breaks. Like, it's just, burnout's a very real thing.
Yeah.
Especially when one of the jobs is something that is already feeling draining.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be one thing if you had 2 jobs and you were fully enjoying what you were doing, you know? And I don't think it would end up feeling like work, because I feel like when things were good, like in the beginning, you were very excited, didn't feel like a ton of work, like you were busier. But then once you kind of got the realities and the honeymoon phase started to go away, and just like, it was like trying to fit a triangle into a circle for you with this job. You were trying to make something work. Yeah. And I think it's just who you are as a person, that once you commit yourself to something, you're like, I want to see this through. That's like just who you are.
Yeah.
But, and that's no fault to you, but I just feel like, especially our generation, not to be that person, but we're just so like, yes, ma'am, yes, sirs. But like, what about us? And I feel like we're also the first generation to start being like, no, but really, what about us? Like,
yeah, I think that's
why would
the
I want to stay somewhere that's draining to me? Like, for what reason? What's the reason?
What is the reason?
No, but for real, what is the reason? Like, what is this job giving me, and at what expense?
And I feel like that part we inherited, the burning ourselves out and just working and not checking in on yourself, we inherited. I feel like that's been going on for forever.
Oh yeah.
But you're right. It's like our generation and younger that has finally been like, wait, hold on.
No, for real. They're like, it's just a job.
Yeah. I think especially probably because we are killing ourselves and seeing no benefit from it.
Right.
Like there's no getting ahead.
Which that's what I applaud you for. I know this has been a stressful year and a stressful time, but I feel like within this month, and I feel like I always sound like a cliche when I say things like this, but I always feel like spells like that happen and they happen for a reason, because I feel like even in this last month, you made a lot of changes for the better, and I don't know if that would have been possible for the podcast. So I applaud you for always... I feel like you are the epitome, as much as you talk about, like, you know, as much as you are somebody that tries to see things through, I think you're also somebody that you're like, the buck has to stop somewhere. You know, but like the buck, I feel like you always come to your point, and I like that about you. Like, you're going to put in your effort, but I like when you put your foot down and you're like, but wait, whether or not you're happy about what's going on, I think you do it. And it's not an easy thing, and it's really uncomfortable, but you're not, like you said, you're not in it just for the job, and your mental health is very important. And I feel like within this month, you've taken tremendous steps towards improving that and breaking it down by like what can actually benefit you. And that's why we're here today now, because you made that schedule change. We're able to get back to the podcast.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's not the first time you've said something like that to me. And I really do appreciate that, because, and I think that's why I'm lucky to have people like you and my mom and my sisters and my friend. Like, I have people in my life that keep reminding me of that. I've luckily grown up with my mom always telling us, do what makes you happy. I didn't have parents necessarily that were always pushing for me to be doing whatever jobs, you know, they think pay great. Right. Of course they want us, they're always worried about us, and they want us to, you know, be getting by and like doing well for ourselves. But my mom always said, you know, do what makes you happy. She's, especially like when it was like college age, she's like, you can go to college and get a degree in something that's supposed to pay well and still never get a job in it. That's unfortunately the world we live in right now. So I would much rather you, if you're going to go to college, go for something that you're going to do that's going to make you happy, and, you know, just continue that, you know, just do what makes you happy. And I think that's where it comes from. And I don't always realize it, because I think I'm stuck in my head and stuck in the stress of like just trying to make ends meet. But then luckily have a reminder from you that every time I've been afraid to admit something when there is a big change, like when I did quit that last job, I was so afraid. I could tell who I'm really closer to, because the closer I am to you, the more afraid I was to tell that person. So I obviously, your opinion holds a lot of weight to me, and just like, and I know, and I think it probably also just knowing the people that, like you and my sisters, basically, I was like deathly afraid to tell. Obviously my parents,
which is hilarious, because I think I was like, oh my God, good for you.
You were. It was, I don't know why my brain was like, she's going to be mad, or like,
Abby's going to be so mad at me.
Like I was going to get grounded.
How you going to pay rent, girl?
I truly think, I think maybe the biggest part of it was I was afraid, because now with the podcast, if I'm making drastic changes in my life, it's potentially affecting your life as well. And that freaks me. Like I'm always like, oh my God, I don't want my bullshit to affect somebody else.
You guys, we're not dating, by the way. It sure sounds like it, doesn't it? It's just what a healthy relationship looks like.
But now we're podcast partners. We're co-hosts. So
we are in a relationship. But no, I was really excited for you.
And I needed that, and I appreciate that, because it was like scary. It's always scary to make those leaps, but you always make those leaps sound really, really cool and exciting. And I'm like, oh okay. I'm like, thank you. I will see it that way now.
I will proceed.
Terrified. Yeah.
You made that sound easy.
I take the leap and I feel like I'm like the coyote with the sign that's like, yipes. But then you're like, that's so exciting. And then I like somehow make it all the way over the canyon. You're like, oh. Yeah. I'm like, wait.
I can run.
I got a little bit more hop in me.
I can walk on air.
Yeah, no, I appreciate
Everybody
that.
needs their little hype man.
Yeah.
Truly. And what am I if not your Kris Jenner? I used to carry Bri's business cards with me when I would go out and sometimes hand them out when I got drunk. I'm not even joking. I did. It was hilarious to me.
But I mean, as much as I was stuck in my own head and really getting down, I think too, in the same way that I was afraid to tell you about the job, I was afraid to talk about the podcast because it was the same thing. Like it literally, as soon as I thought anything about the podcast, I was immediately overwhelmed and I couldn't. And then I'm wasting hours laying there being like, I need to work on the podcast. I need to work on the podcast. And then I get nothing done.
But I was too. That's the crazy thing is like, I wanted to have conversations about it that I just never let transpire.
Yeah.
Because I got like anxiety bringing it up because I was like, well, let me just ask for this. I'll do it. And then like, I didn't get to it. And then I got mad at myself for not getting to it. And I was like, just get to it.
I know.
And it just kept getting further and further away.
Yeah.
And then it felt completely unattainable. And then it got to the point where I'm like, okay, well, we're halfway through October. Like, I don't even know, like, is it even worth it to keep going? And I think it was just the fact, too, that we were so excited about October in general. We had so much planned.
Probably.
And we were it's just such a great month for Bri and I. We really enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And I will say we did enjoy it to the fullest. You just never heard about it. No.
We still tried our damnedest, yeah.
But that's the disappointing part is we were really excited to share this with you guys because it's a huge part of like who her and I are. Mm-hmm. And what really brought us together. So, like, I think that's part of what got us down to is that of all the months to drop the ball.
I know.
Why couldn't it have been December?
Right.
I don't even fuck with Christmas like that. I don't. October, though?
I know. We were so excited.
I'm surprised you don't cut me and I bleed orange. Like, I'm fucking serious. That's crazy. I was so mad at myself. Because I'm like, part of me, like the selfish part of me too, was like, you really are getting out and doing a lot.
You were, but I hopefully you never had any intrusive thoughts of thinking that I was like, you're really doing a lot here. We should really be doing the podcast. Because that literally never crossed my mind.
I did it.
Okay, good.
Selfish me is like, no, I didn't.
Because you were seeing so many movies. Because there was a lot of good movies. I
was fucking killing it. I was killing it.
And I loved that. I love seeing that.
I was hitting those pumpkin patches. I was carving those pumpkins.
You did.
I was fucking here, there, and everywhere.
Checked off your whole October list.
Oh my God. Oh, I fucking blew the house up with Halloween decorations.
That was fun.
That was such a good time. And you guys, you could have... Look at no point in harping,
Yeah.
On that. I'm like, oh, they could have been a part of it. It's okay.
I know.
You can tell we're really mad at ourselves.
Yeah.
But, that's what I'm saying, too, is I got to have... It was so much give and take.
Yeah.
Too.
I'm glad that, it didn't shut you down in like, the other side of life.
Yeah.
For you. That, like, you were still doing what you wanted to do. And still enjoying spooky month. Enjoying spooky season. Even though... I know on the other side of it, both of our brains, and that's very much of who we are and how we work, like in a workspace. We are just so, I know we've talked about that we both share it, especially like starting a new job and stuff like that, where we're like, I hate this. I hate not knowing.
I know. It drives me nuts.
We want to be experts in day one.
I hate asking questions, which is fine. You guys ask the questions.
It really is.
Ask the questions.
Ask the questions, especially because one, hopefully you'll get all those answers and you'll learn. Do as I say,
not as I do.
Right.
Right. Like, be better than me. I'm working on it.
Right. Or by the reaction to those questions, you're getting a good idea of your workspace.
Oh, 100%.
Because if you are getting any kind of pushback or people thinking that you're annoying for asking a bunch of questions,
why would I want to be in that environment?
Right.
Exactly.
And I didn't know that until I was in a good space. So the funny thing is, too, talking about work, we've actually recorded, there are 2 other episodes that were never aired. Not from this past month that we recorded, just in the, since we started this podcast. I think the first one was actually within the first group of episodes we recorded.
Yeah.
It was, when I sat down to edit it, it was about work and jobs. And I sat down to edit it, and I was, cringing. Listening to us, I was like, Abs, we sound so... we put on a show. It was just not authentic. Yes, it was so gross to listen. I was like...
Which I'm glad I never heard any of that audio, to be honest. Because I already don't like hearing my voice, but to hear, the cringiness of it all. I was like,
whose parents were we in front of? Why were we...
blink twice if you're okay.
Yeah, I was like, who are we putting this show on for? It was so
Bri's parents were actually in the living room listening to us, and we were trying to be very...
good little girls.
Yeah. Now kids.
Yeah, it was just not us. And I'm glad that at least I could hear that, and that I haven't heard it since. Is a very good note.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one will never see the light of day. And then we tried to redo it. When we were still being very productive and very on top of our schedule, we tried to re-record it, and the universe was like, nah.
We don't want to hear it.
Yeah, they were like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's the universe being like,
the audio was all
you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, because
you're like, you don't need to be giving advice.
Yeah. Honey, you got a storm coming.
They're like, give it a month, girl. I'm going to fuck you up. Then you can talk about it.
Because I sat down to edit, and I was listening to it, and then skimming through, I was like, okay, maybe it's salvageable. But there was some buzzing.
It was terrible. After a while, it's all you could focus on.
Yeah, it wasn't subtle.
It started slow. You were like, oh, what is that? And then it was just constant. It was terrible.
And it got louder and louder. I was like, this is so weird. Because I think it was even only my mic and not yours. Because then I listened to, because it was on the multi-track.
Was being weird the whole time too. You had that feeling. You did.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, it was so weird. It was this freak, just weird accident. So the universe stepping in. So we still didn't have a job or work related episode. And we were like, well, fuck. I guess we're going to put a pin in that for a while.
Maybe we shouldn't talk about jobs is what we were starting to take away.
Yeah. Because I think when I was editing that, it was kind of in the thick of it with one of my just transitions and trying to fucking figure out work and a job. And
which one?
Yeah. I had 5 balls up in the air and still trying to catch them all. And as opposed to just having 3 up in the air, for the past month. It's been a mess, but I feel finally like I'm on a good track.
And we finally feel like maybe we can talk about jobs.
Yeah.
Maybe we're in that position.
Yeah. We might have some clarity now to give some advice and definitely relate to anybody that's struggling, because so are we.
A little bit, always.
Yeah. Because I do feel like...
Not me if I'm not struggling.
Right. What
in
is
some
life
capacity
without stress? I don't know that life. But I do feel there was a moment where both of us were very heavily commiserating over certain aspects of our job, and just I think the corporateness of parts of it, or there was just there was a part where there was just a time where we were both so stressed, and it was weird that there was so much similarity, even though we had 2 separate jobs, 2 separate workplaces, and we were both just this is really getting to me. And the other one would be like, yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. Same here. I feel like I just had that experience today. And I don't know if it was that we were stressed about the podcast, so work stuff was getting to us more, or if it was the other way around, or a little bit of both. But yeah, there was definitely, I feel like it was a rough patch.
Yeah, it really was a rough go for a hot second, which is really unfortunate. Again, of all times for it to be happening. But I just felt like I was in such a transition of taking on new responsibilities, new, roles at my job. And while still maintaining, wanting to maintain this level of excellence in this particular area. So,
Which you do.
Thank you.
And you don't give yourself credit for that, but.
Appreciate you, girl. But it's just holding myself to that high capacity and then knowing something else is slipping. And then just other factors in life, too. I just feel like we're always kind of on that same, just because I feel like we've always had such a similar personality and because we've always talked about having the same work ethic, that it doesn't necessarily have to be the exact same field for us to be still trying to do the same thing. I mean, work ethic doesn't lack just because we're in a different place.
Right.
So because of that, I think, of course, we were definitely commiserating at the same time.
Yeah.
And just for whatever reason, the universe does like to have things happen to us at the exact same time.
Everything all at once.
When
it rains, it pours.
Yeah, it's just not fun.
I would really like...
Misery loves company. And, I think if I have to go through it with anybody, I'm glad it's you. You're very supportive.
Same.
And you know how to make me laugh. So at least I know it's not going to be boring.
Well, and it makes sense to me. I know when you're venting about things and giving, maybe being too hard on yourself, because I know how our brains, at least in that aspect, I know how our brains work. And I'm like, I know that I do the same damn thing where we do put so much effort in, and you have such a strong work ethic that you don't even give yourself enough credit, and your 50% is other people's that would be them giving 100%, but that's your 50%. Yeah. Even sometimes one of your I feel like maybe not full depression. I can't say because it's not my brain, but one of your coping mechanisms in a way, or just sometimes when I know something has upset you, it's the opposite of a typical, I think, depression reaction, where you clean and you get so productive, and I'm like, damn, I fucking wish I reacted that way.
But because I'm if I have one more fucking second with my thoughts, I'm gonna freaking freak out. So I'm I have to do something. It's just me not being able to stand being with myself for one more freaking second.
Or sit still, yeah.
Oh my God, me sitting still. That's a whole nother story.
If you're sitting still, you're napping. You're like a shark.
Oh my God.
Or you just have to keep moving forward.
That's very true. Oh my God.
No, I do think the best, I've called you a hummingbird in the past, because when you sit still, then you just sleep.
That's very true. The only time I'm ever sitting still is when I'm passed out. Otherwise, I'm literally I haven't been up in 5 minutes. I should go walk.
You're over there. You're getting stuff done.
I'm going to go run real quick.
I'm going to go to the gym. And then she comes back, and then she's over there, and then she's over here.
Or I've come out of my room for 6 times. I should just honestly make a checklist before I leave my room, to be honest.
We're going to get you a visual aid.
I should just get a chalkboard, and right before I go to my door, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, we'll put it on the outside of your door.
We must. Otherwise, that's I literally have to put aside time in my bedtime routine. Because I know I will not bring everything at once. I'm I know at least 5 to 10 minutes will be brought up with me just gathering for my fucking village.
And just hear the door open and shut again. And then just her little feet. A
little bit of better.
And then finally it's
and then it's quiet.
Okay, no, I think she got everything now.
Not even a mouse. Oh, it was a really good time for her. I think she only opened the door 4 times. But I do think that, yeah, I don't know when it started, but just cleaning always ended up making me feel better too. I'm sure it comes from something of control too, because if there's one thing about me, I'm not incredibly self-aware as well. So I know, which is like a downfall as well. It's like, imagine being so self-aware, but not being like, but how? How do we change it? It's like, I got you to the problem.
Yeah.
I got you this far, babe. But I think then I'm able to start controlling my space a bit more. And I think it provides me with a little bit of clarity. Because it's also, like I said, I mean, I made jokes, but it is when my mind can just go silent. Mm-hmm. And because I put on my podcast and I clean and I just go a little bit silent, and I'm able to think a bit better, and I come out with a little bit more clarity because I'm finally able to just honestly remove myself from the situation finally. Yeah. Which I think is just what helps me. So I'm glad that I do it took a long time. I mean, I used to just deal with it by being a couch potato, but I think it got to a point, especially just, you guys, full transparency here. Trigger warning for anybody. It's just a mental health topic. When I was off my anxiety meds, I felt like when I did especially go like to bad places or feel myself getting bad, instead of like looking for a habit to cope with that, I was trying to do things that I thought would boost. So like that's when I started getting into the gym more, because I was like, I always feel really good when I leave the gym. It's getting there that's difficult, but every time I leave, so I started paying attention to that feeling. Yeah. And that's what got me to the gym, is I'm like, think about the after effect. And kind of the same thing with cleaning, is it's like, I don't want to be doing it, but I think about how I feel after, and that's what motivates me. And then once I was finally able to get back on my, they're not a full-on coping mechanism, but in the meantime, when I wasn't on them, when I don't even know how to describe it, when I felt myself like kind of slipping away, those were just like areas where I felt like I could grab a little more control.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, because they're healthy replacements.
Yeah.
That's better than...
From a lot of trial and error, too. From, like, previous coping mechanisms that I just saw reward in. Yeah. Which with these, I do. I mean, I get a clean space, and that gives me a clear mind. My body feels better. All these positive things. But it took a while to get there and find them, because it's so easy to fall into the easy, shitty things, too.
Well, and it sucks that those are the hardest things to do when you're stuck in that rut, that... I know for me, like I lose all motivation. It's not only for the things that I know I like need to get done out of like productivity, or even if it's something that I enjoy, where it's even just like self-care stuff but it's literally, the hurdle is literally just getting to the place or even position where you need to get that done. Like once I'm doing whatever that self-care act is, or just like taking care of myself, even if it's just like a fucking shower, like I can talk myself out of it so easily. It feels like such a fucking chore, but once I've done it, I feel so much better. And that's the same thing with like a clean space. It's like it's so easy to just stay in this little depression cocoon and not move and talk yourself out of, or not even talk yourself out. Because like I said, for me, I'm sitting there telling myself repeatedly and almost watching myself not do it, but telling myself and then talking like bad self-talk of being like, just do this. Like, this is all you need to do. I can't believe you haven't done this today. And then you just never get around to it. But I think maybe if I just instead went to go do something else, even if it wasn't that thing, just standing up would maybe hopefully get me to like pick one piece
incredibly
up.
Small.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things. I started doing this list writing for like the past couple weeks, like especially at work and then in my actual life too. You guys, the Virgo in me does not. I feel like every year more and more I see like how I'm a Virgo. When I was a kid, I was like, I'm so not a Virgo. But as an adult, I'm like, no, I'm a fucking Virgo. Anyway, I make lists of what's stressing me out, and I cross them off as I do them. So I feel like my stress is going away. So like at work, which you saw, I like break it down by what I need to be doing, and then I cross it off so I feel better and that I know I'm actually getting something done. And it also just keeps me productive. I see it and I'm like, and I started giving myself times by when I wanted to get to them. And by that, it's helped me really stay on track. So, like, in the mornings, I'm like, okay, I can focus on this. But by the afternoon, I really want to dedicate it to getting that bullet point done. And the same thing with my life. Like, I journal and I started making my list, and it's really helpful. And with doing the podcast every other week, I think just doing a list of, which you guys, this is how we talk. Like I said, it's the behind the scenes. Anyway, but for the weeks where we're not recording, just dedicating the time to finalizing the episodes, the content, how we're going to post, whatnot. Mm-hmm. Just, again, because I know that's a stressor for after we post too. Or after we're finished with our podcast, once we get done recording, of like posting it, making sure. So I think this will just be, you know, like I said earlier, it's unfortunate that this gap happened. We're not happy about it by any means, but I'm also somebody that I like to focus on the positive. And I think the positives that have come out of this is we've both are in better places. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, we've come up with better coping mechanisms. Mm-hmm. And I think we have a clearer headspace on what our time and commitments can look like, and to not be so angry with ourselves when we don't make those unattainable goals. So I think we've just honestly gotten a little bit more realistic here. If I'm trying to, you know, to find the positive in all of this. Yeah. I think we just got realistic expectations for ourselves, and it was a hard pill to swallow for two very perfectionist people. Yeah. With anxiety.
Yeah. And I think
with a dash of depression.
Maybe like the moral of the story that we can, even for myself or just for ourselves, that we can take away from it is that because we love to harp on the things that we didn't do, or that we didn't get it done, or that it got away from us. But now that we're kind of getting out of it, and it sucks that like you kind of have to get to the top of the hill before you can see if it was worth it, or to see, like, you have to be seeing that light a little bit before you can really have like the gravity of the situation realized. That if we had pushed through and tried to get certain things done, or still got the episodes out on a weekly basis and kept going and kept recording, that the really important things would have then taken a back seat, and we wouldn't be in as good a place now.
Oh, I agree.
And we needed, as much as it didn't make us happy and we're upset that it happened, especially within October, fall just becomes a really busy season, even before the holidays get here. But we unfortunately needed that time away because we needed to focus more on the longevity.
I agree. I also got to like rebuild a lot of connections that I hadn't had in a while. Yeah. And I don't regret that by any means.
No, as you shouldn't.
You know, so again, I feel like those things, they happen for reasons.
Yeah. Everything happened the way it was supposed to, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. I mean, but when have I ever gotten a fucking say? I'm just always forced to find the positive.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. I really do think a lot of positivity came out of this, truly. And to your point earlier, talking about getting to the top, I think it also made us really appreciate the podcast in general and what it brings to us. Because, I missed, not doing it. But what I missed more is how much I just enjoy doing this with you guys and having an audience, and knowing that we do reach people miss us. But this is something I really enjoy, and I enjoy doing it with Bri. And this downtime has made me realize what I thought was potentially a hobby. I'm like, oh, no, I really enjoy this. I want to put my time and effort into this. Yeah. So I think it just made me appreciate what we have and what we have going here. And I really want to get back into it, and I'm really excited.
Me too. Yeah, I second all of that. I think if we had pushed through, we would have started resenting the podcast
100%.
Instead of taking the time we needed away, whether we really planned to take that time away or whether it was kind of forced on us. We did take it away and switched our focus on much more personal things and our lives, just so we could get to a point where we can keep working on what we love and what we get enjoyment out of, so that we can keep enjoying it instead of resenting it. Because that's also like a very fine line that it's so easy to if you push too hard, you're going to start resenting things, even the things that you really love. So, because I've felt that, and that's happened with things in the past, and that's always like, it feels like a regret, but it doesn't have to be gone forever. And I think that's the same thing with what happened with this, that it was temporary. Nothing is forever. And we got back onto it. We just had to be okay. We had to tell ourselves that it was okay that we didn't do something.
Exactly.
Instead of trying to make up for that and like just push out everything that we missed out on. We're like, okay, we're just going to take the L.
Yeah, we had to. That was a hard pill to swallow too. Because we had the like come to Jesus moment. Probably midway through October, we were like, what are we doing? And especially me of all people, I was like, Bri, I think we just have to accept the fact that we're not doing an October month. Yeah. Because it's just, and my thing too is Bri and I are so similar, is like, if we do something, we want to do it right as well. And like what we really had planned for October, we put a lot of thought and effort into, which next year we'll be so committed to doing. Yeah. But that being said, when we got to that point, I'm like, it's just not what we want it to be, and I don't think we'll be happy trying to make it something that we, it's just not the vision. Yeah. So, I mean, we had to take the L because, like I said, we came to that conclusion much sooner than this. So, but we went through that acceptance period too. And again, that circle back moment where we're like, game plan moving forward is this, so that we can actually be enjoying it with our listeners, our future listeners, but just making sure that also you can tell that we're enjoying it. The last thing we want to is for you to trust us with your personal woes or celebrations and stuff, and to get like a half-ass excitement or or
we're just like not in any mental position to
but good luck though. Okay. That kind of shit.
We got to get back to a point where we can be helpful.
Exactly. And I can't be helpful if I'm down in the dumps.
Yeah, it was very nice. You're so right. That was such a hard pill to swallow. Like, that was very hard for us. And I think you're right in saying too that we needed an acceptance period. Like, we needed to come to terms. We not only did we make that realization, then we didn't jump right back into it, because we did need to have that acceptance of like, damn, we really aren't going to do this. Because you're right. If we had tried to just push it all out, we wouldn't have been happy with it.
Well, yeah.
And that would have led right back to resentment. Like, it still would have ended in us being like, what the fuck are we doing?
Exactly.
This sucks. Like, this isn't what we want to do. And then we'd get angry. But we're both just very stubborn girls.
But
in wanting,
who stand behind our work too.
Yeah.
And I like, especially especially this too. I want it to be good and done well, because it's important to me. You all are important to me, whether you believe it or not. And this is something I really enjoy doing for everyone who listens and who will hopefully listen in the future. Know that. So of course I want to put out good content for you.
Yeah, 100%. It's, the irony is not lost on me too, that like one of our last episodes that we released was about mental health.
I know.
It was like foreshadowing. We're talking about it, and again, the universe was like, "Honey, you got a storm coming."
I swear to God, the narrator. Who would have thought that we'd be literally having to take our own advice in just a couple of short weeks? But we're happy we got there. Yeah. More than anything.
I do feel good about the decisions that we made, though. I'm proud of us that we did not only. We're starting it back up, but we made decisions to make it more realistic for ourselves.
More realistic, and I love how we both approached it as well. I think we were... Because I remember you had started, like, wanting to say sorry, and I'm like, whoa. Like, it's not just you. I was like, I'm here, too. Yeah. And I was like, it's not just on you. I could have been doing X, Y, and Z as well. So I love that it wasn't just a, well, you didn't do this, well, I didn't do that kind of thing. It was, I think it just takes a level of maturity to because it is really easy to be like, well, you should have been doing this. Well, you should have been doing that. But it's important to understand where the other is at and realize, again, that like mental health, which we've talked about in the beginning of the episode, because this is partially a side hustle, side job. not even a side job, but a side hobby that does require time, work, and effort and knowledge to put into it to do it well, similar to that of a job. So mental health is just as important as the job that you're doing, and it's not worth your mental health to be doing something. Whether or not it is the podcast that we enjoy or an actual job, they both require a great amount of time. And if you're just not in the headspace to be doing it, it's not going to be fun and it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the most important thing that each of us were doing for each other is we understood that, hey, it doesn't seem like the other's doing well. And because honestly, we are so in tune with each other and really empathize when one is going through it, I think we both understood, like, silently, it's not the time. It's not really the conversation that needs to be had at the moment. The more important one is, are you okay? How are you doing? Not, why haven't you done this for the podcast? Which I think is why we've gotten also to where we've gotten and why we're in such a good headspace about it now. Yeah. It's like there was never any blame.
Yeah.
Being put on one or the other.
No, if anything, we were both separately holding ourselves accountable. And being like, and probably blaming ourselves. I was blaming myself. I know.
Well, same.
Like, fuck you, fucking idiot. Like I'm still a little bit mad at myself, but I will get past it. I'm doing this is getting past it. Like that's literally what this episode is.
Which I knew would be good for us too.
Yeah.
Is just need to get getting it all out there and explaining it, and then just shutting the door and moving forward, which is really kind of, I think, therapeutic for us. Which we thought would be really good for this episode as well, for everybody listening, just because we just kind of wanted you to understand where we come from, where we operate, how we listen to each other, too.
And that, as much as, because you're always hearing us after the solution of us having talked about it, but know that it also takes us a long time to get to the point of having that discussion. And I think the kind of like what I was saying before, like the more you care about a person, the harder it is to have those, like the tough conversations are really hard to have with the people you care about more, because at least for us, we've realized that our brains work in this way where we're afraid to lose somebody after having a tough conversation, or we're just afraid of what the repercussions are going to be. And that's a huge sign. So that person means a lot to you if you feel that way. So we're still working through that, and it still takes us a little bit of time to get there to have conversations. But again, even like tasks when you're in the fucking middle of a depression spell, like once you just do it, you feel so much better after it. Basically, it's just getting to that point of starting or just doing one little thing.
Yeah, basically we just wanted you guys to know we're not full of shit. This is literally how we talk to each other too.
Yeah.
Same advice. We go through the exact same thing. So it's not like we pretend like we can understand. I think that's what helps make this so authentic.
We are above no one.
Above no one, above going through nothing. Honestly, I joke that I am the people upstairs personal joke sometimes. Like I haven't fucked with Abby in a while. What's she up to? And I have like so many events that can attest to that. This is not being dramatic. The hospital debacle of 2020.
Oh my God.
For example, regardless.
Yeah, we are not above it, and we, if anything, we're in the thick of it with you guys. Like this is exhibit A of that, hopefully.
Hopefully it just makes you feel more comfortable with us too.
Yeah.
Because that's really, again, what this podcast is supposed to be about, is you truly feeling like you are a part of our household, which I think because it's taken both of us so long to really find that healthy friend or partnership, I guess you could say it, and we found that in each other, that we're like, yes, we want other people to experience this too and get that.
Right.
Which I think is, again, what we talked about in the beginning of us healing the trauma, or like the generational of like the buck stops here with, you know, we want other people to feel this way. Just because we felt this way doesn't mean they have to. Like, we want to show you what it feels like when you have that healthy relationship or that healthy outlet. So feel free to message us with any of your woes, your advice. Again, it doesn't have to be just that. It can be your celebrations too. If you need somebody to, because I love people's success just as much as I love giving advice too. So write us, spam us.
This is somewhere where
Stalk
we want
us.
This isn't LinkedIn
Hunt
where
us.
you see other people's
I'm just
successes and it's full of shit and you're like, fuck you. This is real. We want to celebrate the really good, the bad, and the ugly. And yes, please stalk us on social media.
Or email us at rumfreeroommates@gmail.com.
Yeah, love that idea too.
Do you? I just came up with it.
Anything truly, even stories. If you guys have any good stories from your spooky season, any new scary stories you heard, let us know.
Did you see any movies
that happened? Yes,
because I did.
Yeah.
Did you carve any pumpkins? Because I did.
Now that we missed out on that, that's the stuff we want to hear. Tell us all about it.
What were you?
Oh my God. Yeah. What did you dress up as?
Who'd you hook up with?
I actually had 2 costumes.
You did. You killed it. I didn't get to dress up, but I did. I did at the same time.
You did.
But I had to do it in like a classy way.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
I loved that.
I'll tell you guys about that next episode. Guess you'll just have to tune in and find out.
Thank you guys so much for being here, for coming back, for listening.
For sticking with us.
Yeah, and for checking in if you did. We really, truly appreciate you guys. So we are so excited. We will not see you next week, unfortunately, but we will see you the week after that.
So mark your calendars.
But we will see you guys next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Can you match my tone?